Hola a todos y bienvenidos a este nuevo episodio de Digital Download. Oops. Good afternoon, good morning, and good day, wherever you may be joining us from. Welcome to another edition of the Digital Download, the longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live, now globally syndicated on TuneIn Radio through IBGR, the world's #1 business talk, news, and strategy radio network. Today, thanks, Tim. Today on the Digital Download, we are...
It's Halloween, isn't it?
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy
I can't talk with it on.
All right, so as I said, today on the Digital Download, we are opening the crypt of your sales strategy for a special Halloween edition. For this special edition, I am joined by our panelists, of course, to discuss one of the most frightening topics in business, the sales pipeline. But before we kick off the discussion, let's go around the set and introduce everyone. While we're doing that, why don't you in the audience reach out to a friend, ping them, and have them join us. We strive to make the Digital Download an interactive experience, and audience participation, as you know, is highly encouraged. Tracy, do you want to kick us off, please?
Hello, everybody. Happy Halloween. I don't know if there could be any different, more drastic difference between Tim's costume and my costume. But I'm a Care Bear today, Cheer Bear in particular, because we need to bring some cheer to our sales pipeline. What else? I am Tracy Forreston, founder of TLB Coaching and Events, a proud partner of DLA Ignite. And while I might generally hang out on the marketing side of the funnel, there's an equal amount of living dead that exists in there. So I'm sure we'll cover it all today.
Excellent. I'm sure they are. Adam.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adam Gray. I'm co-founder of DLA Ignite. And I decided not to wear anything Halloween-based today.
I thought you were wearing a mask.
Baboons. Thank you very much. So this is really interesting. And when you put the announcement together, Bertrand, and you said about the zombies in the pipeline, I thought that's a really good way of describing how this is for so many organizations. And I think it'll be an interesting conversation to have, because I think it's probably a challenge or a problem that affects everybody.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to discuss that at length. Okay, Tim.
Hello, my name is Tim Hughes, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. And I'm famous for writing the book, Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers. And I'm really looking forward to opening the crypt and delving into the coffin of the witchcraft, which is the sales pipeline.
We're looking.
Is there anything good in the sales pipeline?
It's hopes and dreams, crazy.
Dreams and dead things.
And myself, Bertrand Godillot, I am the founder and managing partner of Odysseus & Co., a very proud DLA Ignite partner, and I am wearing a, I'm in the color tone for today, let's put it this way. At least I like to think so. Okay, thank you so much, guys, ladies and gentlemen, sorry.
Bertrand, can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
So I wanted to raise a point today, because Bertrand basically asked Gemini AI what it thought about him. And what did it say, Adam?
It said he was a prisoner of his own brilliance. Which is it's a tremendous thing to have said about you, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, every now and again you need a little bit of a push.
Absolutely. And so Bertrand, a prisoner of your own brilliance.
Yes.
Well, according to Google Gemini AI.
That's probably the the saddest thing about it. But although it knows a lot about me, so
It does know a lot about you. You're a prisoner of your own brilliance.
all right.
I feel like we need a whole episode to dive into that.
Let's get started, because otherwise, exactly, but that was good. That was great mentioning. That was good mentioning, Tim. And I will talk about this further, I'm sure. So let's start with a foundational question for today, because I've got one. Is the weekly, or say monthly, forecast review just a ritual of collective lying? I'm sure there will be a reaction.
Yes.
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 Okay, that's a good start.
Do any of us disagree with that?
No, and I think it's all to do with the the expectation, isn't it, of the sales function within an organization. So, we get on a call. I'm expecting you to have X times pipeline coverage for your number. So you are obligated to come up with stuff that is not going to be factual. I can't imagine that many salespeople say, yeah, I've got one thing in my pipeline and I'm pinning all my hopes on that, even if they're 100% confident it's going to close. And I think that to say, here are 20 things I've got and they're all at like 20% is fine. But when the line manager pushes and says, okay, so what have you done with this? Where are you at with this? What conversations have you had since last week with this? It's an invitation for people to say, well, yes, I spoke to all of those people and they're all really interested in, and because that's the expectation, isn't it? And it's not the sales manager's fault, because the VP is saying to the sales manager, we need more stuff in the pipeline, and the SVP is saying to the VP, we need more stuff in the pipeline, and the CRO is saying to the SVP, we need more stuff in the pipeline. So that goes back down, and then sure enough, stuff comes back up. Although all of it is, as Bertrand said in or much of it is, as Bertrand said in the show announcement, they're zombie deals. They're deals that either aren't real, like a spectre in the night, or they're deals that have been in there for so long and they're there as a placeholder.
Or you get ghosted.
Or you get ghosted. Yes.
There's gonna be so many jokes today, everybody. It's great. So like I always have wondered about this, honestly, from a marketing point of view, because then this folds up to marketing too, right? That we need 60 leads because we need to turn 60 leads into 20 opportunities, blah, 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 blah. And like somewhere along the line, the actual like focus on the revenue gets lost, right? Like if we want to say we want to hit this revenue number, and we get really busy deciphering this down into activities. So then I say, you need to do 25 calls a day. And then people get busy doing 25 calls a day. And I can prove to you that I did 25 calls a day. I just didn't get any deals. And I think this is where this like zombies get created, right? Because you're like, I need you to have 20 things in your pipeline. So you're like, I will put 20 things in my pipeline. What? If they're real or not, I don't know, but I will be able to tell you I put 20 things in my pipeline, and then I will earn that $50 gift card because you told me every time I put 20 things in my pipeline, I earn a $50 gift card. So then we have like a weird, the behavior that we are encouraging people to do is not actually the right behavior. And we're rewarding them for doing the behavior instead of actually meeting our goals, which has always boggled my mind.
Yeah, and I think the issue is, isn't it, that once upon a time, more calls, more dials led to more conversations, which led to more pipeline, which led to more revenue. And actually, maybe things don't work that way anymore. So, if Tim has got a number of 1 million that he needs to make, and he's got just one deal that's worth 2 million, and it closes, he's going to go on President's Club. And if he's so determined to close that deal, he basically moves into the client's office and acts like he's an employee in order that the client's 100% dependent on Tim to achieve their objectives, Tim can be like, sit with his arms folded going, yeah, this deal is going to close. The problem is that Tim's manager says, yeah, but what happens if it doesn't? And Tim's like, well, it is going to close because I've worked so hard it can't not close. And I think you're right, Tracy. I think, ultimately, the thing that's important is achieving revenue. If you're achieving your revenue, it doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you achieve your revenue. So, we know of somebody that's currently sitting at 170% of their number, and they're not making enough cold calls. So they're being told off by their boss. You're not making enough cold calls or sending enough emails. I'm selling almost twice as much as you expect me to. Yeah, but you're not doing enough of these KPIs. But what does it matter? And it's
not a KPI, like an actual key performance indicator, if it has no relationship to the revenue.
No. But Tim always talks about how skilled salespeople are very good at playing the game. So, you want 10x pipeline coverage. So I'll give you 10x pipeline coverage. Well, yeah, but actually 10x pipeline coverage should equal 10x revenue, shouldn't it? If you're able to close these things and they're proper deals.
But isn't that the assumption here that, volume will lead to results? So, I don't want our audience to believe that we're that naive, right? We understand that there is a political aspect. Or at least, I think I'm deeply convinced that there is a political aspect into the way you report your forecast, of course. But then the question I have always had is, it's a little bit like when you enter a golf course. At the end of the day, the only thing that counts is how much strokes you've made, not how you made these strokes. So the question, I think, is really about incentives. Every single salesperson, the directors, VP, are all incentived on revenue. So why on earth do we have that many zombies?
I feel like maybe there's a component of control here, like the command and control structure that exists in traditional business, where I, as the sales leader, have to know with certainty, which there is in fact none of, what is in the pipeline, so I can report it up to my people so they can make with certainty a decision about what is going to happen next. And I mean, even if I had the best intentions as a salesperson and I haven't been rewarded elsewhere to over exaggerate my behavior or put zombies into my pipeline, which we've already talked about, then unless if you're a sales leader and you've got 10, 20, 150 people underneath of you who are responsible for selling stuff, if I'm supposed to control what they do, I have to see what they do. So then I need you to put it in the CRM so I can know what you're going to do. But then if I look at that month over month or year over year, I know that these are lies, but we just keep putting them in there because I need to control the uncontrollable.
I mean, I remember Tim talking ages ago about, and the reason I'm mentioning you, Tim, is because I don't want to steal your thunder for this. Talking about doing a deal review with a bunch of salespeople and saying, how many connections have you got inside that company? And they're like, well, I got 2. And Tim folds his arms and says, well, that's not going to close then. Yes, it is. No, it isn't, because nobody knows who on earth you are. And I think that's.
I pissed off one of our clients because I said I attended the forecast meeting, and it was Domino's Pizza, and they were forecasting it to close, and I said it won't close because the person didn't have any connections on LinkedIn. Oh yeah, but the MDs met them, and yeah, but you've got no relationship in that. It didn't close.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that's really interesting, isn't it, that often not salespeople, but sales functions want to spread their bets. You've only got a finite number of hours in the day with which you can build relationships and gain insights on the people that you're trying to sell to. So is it better? Have you got more likelihood of closing a deal, or more surety perhaps of closing a deal, if you've got 2 deals where you have a good relationship with 50 people in each of the 2 deals that you're trying to close, or 100 deals where you have 1 person in each of those? Now, you may get the same revenue from either route forward, but the 100 companies where you've got 1 relationship in each does feel rather like spinning a roulette wheel, doesn't it? You know, it's like, so one of these is going to close because statistically one of them is going to close.
It's a bit like astronomy, though, isn't it? Which is what you're doing is that you're using it to try and predict the future. One of the measures of sales leadership is, as in your professionalism, is an ability to, in effect, predict the future. And that's about you understanding the humans. I know that Tracy tends to forecast stuff. I know that Adam underperforms forecasting stuff, and trying to get that balanced out. Because at the end of the day, as a sales leader, when you go to the board, what they're looking for is for sales forecast accuracy.
Well, predictability and contribution.
Yeah. Because the company is going to be making decisions. Do we hire people? Do we fire people? Based on what you come to the board. And if we know, it only takes you can lose your professionalism in 3 months by basically coming to the board and forecasting something that doesn't happen. And at that point, you say, well, I just don't believe anything in the sales leader is talking about. So
I think one of the other things I've seen happen there is that like people will put something in the funnel because they're actively working on it, but then they will move on to something else. And so they're not actively like nurturing this account anymore. So this is another reason where there's a lot of like 20%, right? Like I do. And I could probably go back to that and say like, yep, I would say that one's still at 20%, except now the close date is like a year out because I haven't nurtured it. And then I think that comes back to the behavior that we're rewarding internally. Do we want a lot different projects at 20%? And I don't have time as a salesperson to nurture these things or build up my relationship ecosystem within a target business. I have to move on to the next thing. So it's
and I think that the quantity is a comfort blanket, isn't it? Because we all sit there and we make we all have those ratios. If we have 5 of those, then it will close to one of those. I've just noticed a comment from Mark Woodhams has come in.
Yeah, and we'll go for it because I've not read it completely, but I like.
I used to work with Mark in a very large US software company.
So Mark says, you want to read it, Tim?
Yeah. The way in which a buyer buys has changed phenomenally over the last 5 years, yet our desire to measure in the same way has not. Even to the point where I have experienced managers forcing reps to inflate their pipeline and then blaming the rep for failing to deliver. I've seen it as well, Mark. It's a crazy situation built on fear and little understanding. My belief is that we need to create more time for the rep to sell. Yes, we need some data, but the balance has shifted too far, in my opinion.
Yeah.
with the like,
Emoji there.
yeah.
Spot on. Absolutely
Emoji.
spot on.
Spot on, yeah. Which by
Great
the way,
point, Mark. Thanks, and thanks for watching.
there's probably something that doesn't change, and that's the close rate, which I think is one of the most probably is one of the ingredients for pipeline coverage. So
I think the close rate goes down, because at the end of the day, fewer salespeople make their number now than at any point previously.
which therefore means that coverage goes up.
Absolutely. so therefore your close rate goes down because now you're forecasting 10 times your number rather than the 5 times you were, but you're still not making your number. And I think that it's as if this idea that Tim's performing at 80% of his revenue objectives at the moment. So if I ramp up his number by 50%, he'll sell what is at today's number 120% of his number, because he'll add 50% to the number. And that the assumption for that is that the reason Tim's at 80% is because he's sitting with his arms folded watching daytime TV, and you just need to motivate him to do more work. The reality is that he's working absolutely flat out to get that 80%, and he's overquoted, and the product's not competitive, and he's so manacled and shackled by the processes that have been put in place. You have to make 50 calls a day, you have to send 50 emails a day, you have to put people into this cadence, these are the words you need to use on your call, and all of that stuff, which turns Tim from being Tim into being a corporate drone. And at the end of the day, what we've all learned is that the thing that makes Tim effective is being Tim. Some people like it, some don't, but at the end of the day, that's his only USP.
So when Mark and I worked together, we had a sales force of 69, 7 people always made 200%. You knew who they were. And exactly what you said, Adam, you had to keep the corporation away from them. They had to get certain sign-offs and certain things, which, but you had to keep the corporation away from them, and they would do one deal. All of the other people who were not going to do their number, it was always a numbers game. And so as a leader, you were in a situation where in one place you're having to run inspection on certain individuals. On others, you knew that they're going to do 200%. If you inspected them, they'd walk out of the business. So it's a really difficult balance to get in terms of, understanding the people. Also, some other facts you'd like, I thought I'd give you. Of the leads that came into the CRM at 30%, 80% of those closed to win. Of the business, of the forecast, and it was about $1 or $2 billion dollars. Of that, 80% of it was at 10%, and none of that closed. And in fact, 80% of that stuff that was at 10%, what happened was that they changed the calendar it's going to close the last month of the last quarter of the year, and they didn't, and they would just change the date. It's going to change the last month of the last quarter of the next financial year, and so you've got this. You're from a leadership perspective, you've got this massive change of all the things, of all the plates that you need to spin, the different types of people, the way that people work, and the RevOps, the move toward RevOps today can be good, because you can work out so why do 80% of the stuff that comes in at 30% close to win? Well, because the salesperson had gone out to the client, they'd had a meeting, maybe even actually had a demonstration, and they actually have a good visibility of the path to close. At that point, they would put it in the CRM. So it's about understanding some of these things. And one of the things that we implemented, because we had to run a 95% accurate forecast, 95%, because of the fact that the corporation, you've got to remember, the corporation reports to the NASDAQ. You get your forecast wrong on the NASDAQ, your shares tank, and everybody's really annoyed. So what did we implement? We implemented social. Because what we did, any deal over 500K, there had to be a line in social, because what you would do is basically smoke out any of this. Is it going to happen or not? Because we knew if there was a deal over 500K and it was going to be happening, and you'd have the salesperson, the pre-salesperson, the sales management, you would see a discussion taking place. On the deals that were over 50, I remember, I'm not going to mention the person, but they had a deal for Barclays. Is it going to close? It's going to close. Is it? Yeah, $500,000. Yeah. There was no discussion going on so you knew that there was no pre-sales work on it. You knew that the salesperson was just out having lunch or something like that. So it's an amorphous job in terms of looking at that and looking after 69 salespeople and working out how are you going to do the number. Sorry, I just share that.
No, but I think that's really interesting, because I think that one of the issues is that the interrogation of each of the deals. So, I've gone and had a call or a conversation with company X. They said that they were really interested in our product, therefore I'm going to forecast it. So the fact that one person has said they like it is a million miles away from me being in the deal and things going to necessarily happen. And I think that unfortunately, what the sales manager doesn't want to hear is from their reps that I've actually got no deals at the moment. I'm working on these 5 companies, but there's nothing I'm comfortable forecasting yet. What they want is, I've got 10 deals that I'm forecasting, even though there's no chance of any of those deals going anywhere at this stage. They maybe will at some point, but at this stage, I can't pin my hopes on any of those. So rather than saying, I've got nothing, it's a case of, well, I've got loads of stuff. I've got an embarrassment of riches here, and I'm just trying to work out which one's the most likely one that I need to pursue.
We did actually have a sales leader come to a board meeting saying they didn't have anything to forecast.
Did you?
Yes.
How was that received?
What you'd expect. Like, so what's paying you basics? You're all getting a basic salary, but you're not bringing. There's money going out for the company, but nothing coming in. How does this work?
Yeah.
Just a quick. Well, I'm not sure it's going to be a quick one, but anyway, no, because I do believe that there is something that we need to discuss, which is qualification. Because one of the things that you said, Tim, around the fact that if that deal is going to close, then there is a lot of activity between people internally, discussing, and that's so. Does that mean that there is the need for a change in the way things are qualified? If they are in the first place.
Well, and I think like qualification, I find interesting because I do feel like this falls into marketing as well, right? Like we do this and then we have a marketing qualified lead and then we turn it into a sales qualified lead, and there's like weird qualifications that are going on, right? Like what is a qualified lead? And I think there's, again, especially now that we've layered in a lot of technology into these things, there's a lot of ways that you can say like, well, I've have 7 meaningful interactions with this person, and therefore that makes it qualified. And we want to like get very technical about how we can use the systems to qualify a thing. So then I want to demonstrate within the system that that thing is moving along, or that it is being qualified. But I think we can all attest to, like, I can have 7 conversations with one person and it not be qualified, and I can have 2 conversations with another person and it be qualified. So I think that there is the level of automation has confused that, but also the inherent, I'm gonna come back to the uncertainty, right? And unpredictability is that how I am as a human can resonate much stronger with another person, and we can move through a thing very quickly, or they have a more urgent need, or they're actually trying to get rid of some budget, right? Like, I got leftover budget and I'm trying to spend this and I need to spend it in the next 30 days. Awesome. Let's talk about it, right? Like I've had clients that I got in 30 days, and I've had clients that I nurtured for 8 years.
Yeah,
but I think that's the crucial point. I think that qualification, since the advent of social, I genuinely believe that qualification is not in or out, but now or later, because you now have a vehicle to talk for an infinitely long period of time to a prospect and show them your thinking and show them all of the reasons that they should buy from you without annoying them. You know, I send you my weekly newsletter, and actually after 3 episodes, you just unsubscribe because it's boring and you don't want to hear about that. But on social, I can show you this stuff which you can read and engage with should you want to, and not if you don't want to. So the question is, at the very beginning, when you're targeting individuals or companies, you need to ask the question, are you a perfect fit for my business? And am I a perfect fit for you? And if the answer is yes, then you would be a perfect thing for them to buy. They maybe don't have budget this year. Maybe they're going through a reorg. Maybe they're moving the structure of the business. Who knows? It could be it could be under contract to another supplier. But at some point down the road, the deal will surface. So connecting now in the way that you would if it were an active deal where you're connecting to lots of people within the organization, and you share content that's going to be interesting to them, that is fun, entertaining, shows you in a good light, shows that you understand what it is they're doing. Eventually, you will have moved them to a point where you seem like the obvious choice. And I think that fundamentally, the thing that we do wrong from a sales perspective is, are you going to buy from me today, Tim? No? Okay, well, that's the end of the conversation then. And then 3 years later, are you going to buy from me today, Tim? No. And actually, there's that huge period in between when I could have kept nudging Tim along, looking better and better in his eyes, but I chose not to because I thought, you're not going to land this quarter. And I think that this short-termist view that we have, particularly when many big complex purchases have got an 18-month, 2-year sales cycle. So it's like, well, clearly, I've only just phoned you up and had a conversation with you for the first time. It's unlikely it's going to land this quarter. And yet still that's the expectation.
And I think that to go on that, because I know, Tracy, you talk a lot about nurturing. The nurturing process has got so simple now. Because, I remember having a big spreadsheet because one of the things, you go back to the beginning, we're always having, as a salesperson, we're always balancing our time. Do we prospect or do we close? And sometimes, as you said, Tracy, what we're doing is that we get told we need to be doing certain things and like you need to prospect more when actually we need to be closing.
Right.
And we get told to do stuff, whereas we get told to do stuff because what's happened is that we've taken away the ability for salespeople to think. So we don't think for ourselves now; we just have to do. And so in the old days, you would have, you would be nurturing things, and I would have a spreadsheet, and it would be, today I'm going to be doing that. So I'm basically, hello, Clive. Yeah. So where are you? Yeah. We said I talked to you 6 weeks ago, and you would just go. Now I nurture my people all the time, because I'm posting stuff on social. And so the nurturing process is just so simple.
And constant, isn't it? I can see you're constant. I can see you're
constant. Yeah.
Every single day. So I never forget.
Before, you're ringing up Clive. He said ring back in 6 weeks. He said, well, I won't ring him back straight away in 6 weeks because actually it's sure I'll give it 8 weeks. How's it going? No. I'm actually nurturing Clive every single day because he's actually seeing. Oh, there's Tim Hughes.
But I also think, I think we can, similarly to how we interpret qualification, we can also misinterpret nurturing. So I think, because this is very common now too, right? Like if sales is like, oh, I reached this person, they're not in market today, I'm just going to put them in the email list, and marketing is going to nurture them. Or this email newsletter that we send out once a week is going to nurture them. Sorry, folks. That isn't nurturing anything.
No.
I'm going to stand here right now and tell you, if you put a cold lead into an email list, it's not nurturing. It might be maintaining a touch point.
Well, it's more likely to be neutering than nurturing. Because at the end of the day, how many of us, we see something and we go, that's interesting, I'll sign up for that newsletter. And then we glance at the first few newsletters that come, and then they become an annoyance, and we either unsubscribe or we just simply block them out because we haven't got time to read them. Even though at the point that we added our email list, email address, we thought this is really valuable stuff. So the point is, we all become totally turned off by that constant stream of you telling me what's going on in your life.
It's an oxymoron. It's never a newsletter is never useful and interesting because it's about you talk about yourself. You don't talk about me. You talk about, oh yeah, we've won this thing. I don't care.
Yeah, but Tim won a trophy last week.
Oh yeah.
So here's a photo of Tim with the.
And we were at this trade show.
Here's Rachel from accounts. She's won she's won something.
Employee of the month. Like, no, and the thing from a marketing point of view, again, a thing that confuses me is like, we all do this as consumers, right? We sign up for an email list, and then usually we get the thing that we wanted, and then we don't do anything else because we don't have a relationship with that brand, right? Like, don't open your emails. And I probably don't even opt out because I don't care that much. I just delete your emails every time I get them, right? Like, is that what we're going for? No, this is not. So if we know that this is the basic behavior of humans at this point with email, there are things we can do with email that would kick people out of that. But a nurturer only exists if you have a relationship to nurture.
I think you get it spot on there, Tracy, that nurturing is about relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and when you have a newsletter, there's no relationship, is there? It's what I'm doing is I'm outsourcing, and somehow or other, I think if I'm moving it from my plate to yours, it's your job.
Or
And
that I
then
am
I
like
can complain
deluding
about it when you
myself.
don't do it.
I'm deluding myself to believe that I'm nurturing people.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm gonna put them in this list and they're gonna get my 7 email series of things, and it's gonna move them from liking this one thing that they did into buying a thing. Has that ever worked on you?
We've just had a comment from Dr. Dale Charles. Hi, Dale. Good to see you. Since AI has come into sales, I get a lot more cold emails. Yeah, so do I. And the majority of these are completely irrelevant. Yeah, spot on. And they have not even looked at my job role, offering things to me that have nothing to do with me. Yeah, I got one the other week saying they could. Yeah, exactly. I got one the other week saying that they could turn my expertise into my first book.
But you're probably in their forecast.
Yeah, well, yeah, I probably am. I didn't accept their LinkedIn request, so I was
not. But that doesn't mean you're not in their forecast.
No, absolutely.
They probably hate me.
But I think this is the thing too, right? And we assume that these tools make it so easy for us to do the things. And while I think there are opportunities to use technologies to nurture relationships, so like, how can I find out information about like what this person is talking about? Oh, maybe I can go to their LinkedIn profile and I can see what type of thing. Like, technology can enable these things, but it only enables what we bring to the table. If we bring innate curiosity to the table, then it can enable that. If we bring, I have to fake a bunch of stuff to show that I have these numbers, it can do that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that, you know, Tim and my work with the ISP, you know, Andy Huff, who's the founder, has got a huge amount of data and research at his fingertips, and conversations with him always kind of end up with those aha moments. So, you know, fewer than ever salespeople make their number today, and yet we spend more and more on sales tech to support salespeople to make their number. And the question is, you know, is the sales tech actually helping the salesperson sell more, or is the sales tech helping the organization to report the things in the pipeline more effectively? So, you know, one of the things that amazes me is like Tim said about the 7 people that always made 200% of their number. You know, those are the people that need air support for them to go out and do their thing. And one of the things that amazed me when I joined a large American software company that shall remain nameless is I thought, I'm moving into an environment where they pay really well, so I'm going to be surrounded by brilliant people. And I wasn't. There were brilliant people there.
You were with me and well,
yeah. No, but my point is not that everybody wasn't brilliant.
Sorry, Tracy, it's a bit of a mafia, isn't it?
But some people were brilliant, but many people weren't, and a lot of the processes that were put in place were catering for the lowest common denominator. You know, so here's what you need to say in this environment, Tim. Here's what you need to do. Here's the things you need to send people. This is when you need to send them. And like you said, Tracy, you know, some people you've been nurturing for 8 years, some people they close in 30 days. And the fact is that if you have to put people through a cookie cutter process, it doesn't legislate for the fact that everybody's in a different environment, everybody's got different needs, and everyone's a different person. And I think that one of the things that's amazing is that we've got all of this generic stuff to support people. These are the trigger words that work really well. These are the trigger words that work really badly in a telephone conversation. That's nonsense. Because Tim has a different lexicon of words to Bertrand, who has a different lexicon of words to you, who has a different lexicon of words to me. And you're at your most compelling when you're using your words to articulate something, not someone else's.
What? Isn't it marketing's job to just create a script for you guys that you can all read and it will work exactly the same for every person and every lead?
We'll all be on brand, won't we?
Then I know as a leader that you're all saying the right thing.
I can know as a leader you're all saying the same thing. But you can probably also see that in your revenue numbers.
Okay, so one of the things that just comes up to my mind is obviously when you, and that's probably for the sales directors listening to that conversation, when you take over a new team, when you take on, I suspect, a new team, obviously you look at their forecast and you're probably, you know, most likely you're going to remove the zombies. So why does that start again over and over again? Because after a period of time, they will come back. So are there anything that we can advise or maybe recommend or, we think is appropriate for avoiding the zombies to come back?
I mean, I don't think it's the easiest thing, to be honest, because the zombies end up in there because that is our behavior. And so even if you come in as a new sales leader, if most of your team was there, they have their behavior that is in place already. So creating human behavior change is not the easiest thing. That I often use the phrase corporate trauma, right? If you have a new person coming in, like they think this environment is going to be like their last environment. So they behave in a way that matches the last environment, which may or may not culturally align with what you're trying to accomplish as a leader. And so, I mean, there's opportunity for alignment on that. But if you're trying to like coach people into behavior change, first of all, I think you have to change how they're looking at it, which means you have to know how we're looking at it, right? Like, I don't know your past leader. Were they really obsessed with this number of calls that you did a day? I came into this scenario, right? So I was a interim VP of sales and I came into this department and everyone was just 25 calls a day. And I was like, no one's selling anything. So I don't really care if you're doing 25 calls a day, right? Like that's clearly not working for you, right? So what would work for you? And I did this do what you want week. And I was like, you guys are all professional salespeople. I believe that you can sell stuff. So how about you do it your way for a week and we'll see what happens. Worst case scenario, we have no meetings booked anyway if we keep doing it this way. So the risk is non-existent. So let's just try it. And it was really interesting to see because they were like, really? And I'm like, yes, I'm not even going to look at the number. I don't care how many calls you made. I'm going to see how many like meetings you booked, right? Like that's all I care about. I want to book meetings. What do you need to do to book meetings? I don't care. And like we went from 0 to 3 meetings in 1 week because people were doing what they would do. And my boss didn't like it. And she was like, why aren't we getting 25 calls a week? And I'm like, I'm sorry, don't you see what happened here? Like we actually moved things through the funnel, but okay. But this is where that like, how is the pressure being put on them and how can you release that pressure so they can actually do something that might work differently? And then there's also additional layers of that depends on the size of the sales team that you're managing because everybody's got, like Tim said, there's some people who will just, if you let them go, they'll do 200%, right? Like, good, great, go. And there'll be some people that are like, I don't know what to do.
But part of this, it requires somebody to put their foot down and say, no, what we need to do is the things that are actually going to make a difference. So, yes, traditionally a KPI has been how many calls have you made, how many emails have you sent. That doesn't work. There's little or no correlation between those anymore. What matters is how many meetings have you had, whether that's virtual or in-person meetings have you had. So that's what we need to be driving for. That should be the first measurement point. And if you're not meeting your meeting quota, then you can look at, okay, so what are you doing to drive meetings? Because that isn't working. Okay, then you need to do more posts, more calls, more emails, more whatever. But if you hit your meeting quota, then at least you've got a starting point that means something. And I think that so often, we're in this situation where people are playing the game. The salesperson, the sales manager, the sales leader, they're all playing the game. And like when Tim said about Domino's Pizza, it's like, this is going to close. How many relationships have you got? How many calls are you having? How many people are you connected to? Well, I'm not actually connected to any. Okay, well, and that needs to go through to each of those deals. You tell me this deal is an opportunity. Where are you at? Well, I've sent them 3 emails, and I know they've opened them. Okay, that's not a qualifying measure. But for many people, and I guess that in the absence of anything else, it's better than nothing.
Some of it is to do with measurement, isn't it? Because I think, as Mark said, we've become obsessed with measurement. So in the example where that person is 170%, but they're not making enough calls, it's a CRM vendor. And they're able to measure the number of emails they put through the system. So they measure it rather than thinking, because of course the view is if I can see that everybody's sending 20 emails or making 20 calls, that's activity. Therefore, that's going to turn into revenue, isn't it?
No.
And so yeah, it's and that's, I think, we often see that imbalance. And we've seen lots of stories of people that have talked about and measured input rather than output. And again, that's because, as Mark said, we've got sales leaders now that are running their sales teams through dashboards. Is that a good thing?
Yeah, because you're in the red, Tim, because you haven't made any cold calls this week, and that's really bad. And it's Friday, and you've not made any cold calls. What do you mean you've had 27 meetings? I don't care. You've made no cold calls. And actually, that's the problem with the dashboard, isn't it? It's like giving someone a brochure and going, well, you've got everything you need to know to make a decision to choose me now. The world doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I want to just I know we're getting to the end of the show, but there was something that came up for me earlier too, in this concept of the pipeline, about how we're trying to use it to predict the future. Like, we're fortune tellers and we're not. Okay. So there's things that we can do in like relationships that we can build where we have more confidence to say, like, yes, I feel a connection with this business. They clearly get that I can like solve their problem, right? Like, I've had enough conversations with them to know that what their problem is and all of these different things. But I think there's an opportunity to also flip that to say, like, this isn't about predicting the future. It's about creating the future. We want to create this business, right? We don't want to predict what's going to happen. That's guessing, right? Like Tim said at the beginning, it's astrology, right? We're going to leave it to the stars and it's going to predict. No, that's not a thing. Right? But there are things we can do to create the future. And if we do want to look at those input things, which I think are important to look at, I'm going to say, like, what are the things that I'm doing that's creating deals? And if I'm not doing activity that's creating deals, then I don't care about the activity that's not creating deals. I definitely don't want to scale the activity that's not creating deals. Right? I want you to do the activity that's creating deals. And if we were looking at this from a technology perspective, then wouldn't it make sense for each individual salesperson to get like a profile of things that they do that creates business, and then we find ways to better enable those things, right? So I want you to spend the majority of your time creating.
Do sales leaders know what activity creates deals, because
No.
I don't think they do in the modern world. I think people have a very strong idea of what they hope or what they think or what used to create deals, but I'm not sure that it does anymore.
It's the big discussion in marketing, isn't it, Tracy? Attribution. You know, that was a piece of inbound. Well, was it? You know, they came.
Well, and at the end of the
they
day,
came to an event and they know Charlie in accounts. And
attribution, like you said earlier, Tim, is never one thing, right? So yes, it might be one social media post that prompted you to connect, or it might be that, oh, I saw you at this show and then we got into a conversation. But attribution is never one thing, right? Like no one saw your booth at the show, not knowing anything about your business, and talked to you once and bought your thing, right? It's not how it works. And so even when we want to look at attribution, there's never one thing that is the magic attribution thing. If we just get everybody to open 20 emails, then it isn't magic like that. It is a combination of activities. And so how can we look at how the combination is delivering or not?
Quite a number of punchlines today, but I'd like to thank Tracy for the let's go and do what works for you.
Do the thing,
and also you can only nurture a relationship.
I like that. Yes,
and that one was, and I think at the end of the day, maybe you will have less zombies if you also build relationship with your team, because at the end of the day, that's what will lead to them making what works for them, if they feel the trust and probably the freedom to do so. That was really great. Again, that was a great Halloween session. And I can't leave you without our newsletter. And I do apologize because it splashes on your faces, Tracy and Tracy. Cracking show. So don't miss an episode. Get the show highlights and the beyond the show insights. And reminder of upcoming episodes. We'll have a great one next week. So you may scan the QR code on screen or visit us at digitaldownload.live/newsletter. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this great session, and see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Happy
Halloween.
Halloween.
Bye-bye.